Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Rent Prep for Landlords. This is episode number 203. I'm Eric Worrell, and
I'm Stephen White.
Yeah, and we are here again. We are actually recording live this week on the Facebook page and sharing it into our Facebook group, Rent Prep for Landlords. So if you guys want to check that out, you can check that out there. And we're going to be attempting to actually do a whole slide deck with it today. So there's a good chance things are just going to break. It happens.
Yeah.
But
it's like watching someone juggle knives. Like, I don't know if you can juggle. I don't know if this is going to work out. So
it's questionable. It's very questionable. But you know what? Let's roll some of that beautiful intro music that we love so much.
Welcome to the Rent Prep for Landlords podcast. And now your hosts, Stephen White and Eric Worrell.
What's going on, Steve? You ready for another episode of Rent Prep for Landlords?
I am.
All right. So this week, what we're going to try to do is kind of buzz through some of the in the news topics. So we got a few more this week, but we're going to cover them quick, and we got some interesting topics. It's a pretty wide variety here. Yeah. So first one that we're going to be talking about here is actually has to do with the NHL playoffs. So I know you're a big hockey fan.
Yeah.
So you probably know who these people are. I don't.
I do.
So Colton Sissons, am I saying that right?
You are, yeah.
All right. Number 10 of the Nashville Predators is late on his rent to his landlord, who happens to be Colin Wilson of the Colorado Avalanche. Now, why is that interesting, Steve?
Because they are playing each other in the playoffs.
That's right.
So, yeah, talk about a rivalry.
Yeah. This was actually reported in the Denver Post, and I thought it was interesting because they're actually friends, but he's giving him a hard time saying that he's going to evict Colton if he doesn't pay his rent because he's late on rent. Who knows if he actually is.
Right.
But we do know that they broke the golden rule of not renting to your friends.
Yeah. Good example. You never know when you're going to see him in the playoffs. I mean,
yeah, that's why I never rent to friends in case I become a professional athlete.
Right.
But the other takeaway from this too, that I thought was interesting, is the guy who moved to Colorado. He was talking about how Nashville's real estate market has exploded. So that's the reason he's kept that rental property. So even multimillionaire athletes are keeping rental properties to make a little side income.
Yeah, I hear more and more professional athletes getting into that. You got to remember, these guys, they make $10 million, but that's their lifetime. You know what I mean? They're not doing this into their late 30s and 40s and 50s. You know what I mean? They're cashing out pretty quick. They got to have long-term plans. So,
and you know what? I'm realizing that I never played our In the News intro music, which I think is important.
Let's do it before the next one. Let's go ahead.
All right. In the News, sponsored by Bitcoin and blockchain technology. We're not really sure what it does, but you don't want to miss out. FOMO. In the News. I don't know why I do those. I really don't.
We're not sure what it does, but you're going to be a millionaire.
FOMO's, it's a strong motivator.
Yeah. Well, I got caught up in it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. We'll have to get to it too. We got some live comments actually coming in from Lori right now. He's talking about the New York City landlords that are throwing things in front of the building. So that's actually what we're talking about right now. Maybe Lori has some extra insights on this, but
does she have ESP or something?
I don't know.
How does she know about this?
No, I posted it on the actual little teaser.
All right.
So here's the next news segment. We're talking about a New York City landlord at 85 Bowery. Saying that right, has been tossing tenant belongings into dumpsters. So what happened in this one?
So crazy.
I know, right? And the crazy part about this one is they actually, the reason that there's this issue to begin with is there was asbestos problems, and they had to remove everybody already from this apartment complex.
Right.
And then told them the tenants agreed to move their belongings into storage.
Okay. Let me play devil's advocate here. What if we're reading this from the wrong perspective?
Sure.
What if the landlord gave them a reasonable amount of time and said, we're doing this work, you need to have your stuff out by this date. That date came, their stuff was still in there. What do you do?
Yeah.
Maybe not toss it in the dumpster, but I mean, what do you do?
I did think the same thing. I was like, you know what? This could have been one of those situations where the tenants just were you're just upset and they're like, I'm not doing anything,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a good reminder though to go through the proper process if you are evicting somebody. Not that this was an eviction, but you never want to do the self-help route and just start throwing people's stuff away.
Here's a good rule of thumb. Don't throw out other people's things.
Yeah, especially in the picture that it shows. It shows somebody holding up a bottle of pills.
Prescription full.
I mean,
kid
they're
stuff.
ibuprofen. It's not that big of a deal. The guy's kind of just being a wuss.
Yeah, get Advil. Well, there's also kind of the flip side to this story too. We've seen a landlord in the group, I'm not going to name names, but post a story about how
her name was Peggy.
Yeah, post a story about how she had a tenant leave, the garbage in the house. And mind you, I'm sure we've all felt this way at certain points, but certainly a reminder not to do it. She packaged everything up and went and dumped it on the tenant's new property on their lawn. So we didn't even need to jump in on that one. The group pretty much self-managed at that point. And I think probably had to lock that post down because so many people were trying to explain to her that that's obviously not the right thing to do.
Yeah. And just some insights. Actually, I've spoken with Lori Beth here, who commented on our live video. And she said that the New York City landlord that's been throwing things in the dumpster has been all over the local news, because I know she's from Long Island. So, yeah, apparently it's been making a lot of news in that area. So, yeah, don't go to the extreme measures, because you might end up on the news for the wrong reasons. So, you don't want to do that to yourself. So let's move along to the next in the news topic here. This one is actually in Kentucky. So a Kentucky landlord hired an arsonist. So a Middlesboro man and a Tennessee man were indicted by a Fayette County grand jury this week on charges related to the intentional burning of a Lexington house to collect insurance. So Louis Taylor Hardin, 40 of Middlesboro, was indicted on one count of second-degree arson, a felony punishable by 10 to 20 years in prison. He is also identified as Louis Hardin in other court records.
Ooh, hold on. There's a good takeaway.
All right.
Right? So we run into this in the screening business pretty often. You've got two very distinctly different names, similar but different, Louis and Louis.
Yep.
Right? Whether it be human error at the courts, whether it be a police officer that documented incorrectly, whoever made the mistake, somebody at some point entered in Louis instead of Louis. He now is known as having both those records. Fixing court records is not a matter of like, oh, just erase these on that one, and then we're going to put the right name in there. Nope. Once that's an entry, that's an entry, and you have to now identify that person by both of those names. So it's really important if you're doing screening, and you're doing screening for criminal records, obviously, and trying to check your applicant's criminal records, you want to use a screening company that can run those variations and not just run the instant.
Yep.
If it's not Louis, we're not returning any results.
Yep.
Because that's exactly how it happens.
Yeah. And I mean, the main takeaway from this is don't light your rental properties on fire. I think in this case, Louis or Louis, however he wants to go by, he actually had the house for sale and had been for sale for a couple of years. The neighbors said they spotted a car coming up and dousing the house.
What a dummy.
Yeah.
I mean, what a dummy. What
he paid this guy, I think I read $10,000 to torch it too. And I'm like,
you don't think that the insurance investigators look at the bigger picture? Okay, the house has been on the market for sale for a year and a half, hasn't sold.
Yep.
It's a random act of, even if he would have gotten away with it, it's a random act of weird arsenic violence. There's no way. If you're going to try to pull it off, there's a million ways to do it better. I'm not saying one way or another, but I mean, come on.
Experience from the sound of it,
No,
Steve.
I'm just saying.
Did you have, look like a rebellious youth that I don't know about?
Man, I mean, you could make it look like a wire fire or something. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Louis.
Yeah, I think what they ended up doing was they found traces of gasoline when they did their investigation, so they knew that it was just kind of doused. So
yeah.
Come on, Louis.
Come on,
Step
Louis.
your game up.
Yeah, dude, come on.
In 10, 20 years when you get out of prison.
Yeah.
All right. So our last in the news segment here comes from Chicago. So a Chicago alderman, which I've never actually heard this term before. An alderman is like a council member. He's seeking fines for landlords who let historic rentals rot. So property owners who intentionally let historic buildings languish so they can be torn down and redeveloped would face fines under a new proposal from a North Side alderman. So the City Council Zoning Committee has approved a proposal from Alderman Brian Hopkins II that would fine property owners between $1,000 and $2,000 for intentionally letting buildings within protected historic districts deteriorate in an attempt to get around city rules protecting them. Yeah.
A couple of takeaways here. I know a lot of landlords in our group would probably agree it's not a great idea always to buy a historic building.
Yep. They're cool.
They're very cool to look at when they're done nice. They're very expensive to restore. And you've got to follow all kinds of guidelines and rules that are not always easy to comply with or inexpensive to comply with.
Yeah, I've heard situations where somebody had a window break and that window was going to cost like thousands of dollars because you have to put that style of window back in.
Sure.
Of course, like satellite dishes and things like that, you can't put on the side of the house.
And I get it. Chicago's a lot like Buffalo, where we're from. Matter of fact, Frank Lloyd Wright had a big imprint on both places. They both had a very Victorian style architecture, beautiful buildings in both Buffalo and Chicago. I get it. You drive through Buffalo in some areas and it's shameful to see some of the buildings dilapidated. At the end of the day, though, is this really going to motivate people to pull the property back from, again, I think it's a fundamental issue. Whether you fine them $1,000, big deal. They might not have the money to fix this place up.
Yeah.
It's got to go to the right hands. I don't know.
Yeah. My favorite thing about this article is they actually, Photoshop that alderman into the photo. You can see how he's got the white lines around the sides
and
of him.
He's terrifying. I'm going to be honest with you.
He is.
Rather than the fines, they should just have him stare you down and shame you. Look at that scowl on his face.
If you're curious what he looks like, just go to the show notes on the podcast. We'll have him up on there.
Looks like Jimmy Fallon's angry older brother.
Yeah, it does. I'll give you that. I like that. So, moving right along to our final in the news segment here. An Oswego man has been accused of sexually harassing tenants.
Right in our backyard, man.
Yeah, it is.
No pun intended.
We've had a few. Nicely played, Stephen.
Yeah.
So this Oswego County landlord, Doug Waterbury, has a long-standing pattern of sexually harassing female tenants dating back to 1990, according to federal officials, which already boggles my mind.
I'm with you here. I know.
We're like, you know what? We're going to let this guy go for a good 17, 18 years. But if he hits, double digits on sexual harassment and really, making life miserable for people, then we'll step in.
Super creepy. Yeah. Since the 90s or since 1990, they let it go. So.
Yeah. It says that there's been dozens of victims, including a teenager who was subjected to non-consensual sex while she checked out an apartment he was renting.
Why? I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just awful. And, it's a good reminder, too. It's not just, about landlords being safe and making sure you're safe when you're showing a rental. Tenants have to think about this, too, because there's some crazy landlords out there.
A couple bad apples will ruin the bunch, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not them all, but yeah, there's some bad folks out there.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's move on to another segment. This one is our member highlight. This is one of my favorite members. I know I shouldn't have favorites, but I do. This is Natalie Whalen. I believe she saw it from Chicago, and she posted in the Rent Prep group about a little gem that she just picked up, but it needs a new roof. And she's asking people if they like the gray roof, the red roof, or the green roof. And she's always wanted to try a colored roof. So I thought it was cool because she had 3 images up on the screen here. I think we're actually covering the one of them on our live broadcast. But they have a red and green roof. And she used a tool from Menards, which we don't have locally here in Buffalo, but it's pretty.
Maynards or Menards?
Maynards, see?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. See, I don't know anything about it because we don't have it locally, but seen them on the road. But they have a tool online that you can kind of change the shutters and roof color.
It's pretty awesome. I mean... Mm-hmm. It doesn't look all doctored up, Photoshopped. You get a really good sense of which one you're going to go with. If for what it's worth, Natalie, I like the green.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'd say I go with the green too.
Yeah. It looks pretty updated. It's a nice, cute little house. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Natalie, thanks for that little tip. And I'm glad you're getting good response on that post. I think,
great use of the community.
Yeah. Crowdsource your design questions to the group. Yeah. All right. Moving right along to that landlord hotline bling. At 716-218-0363. Yeah, that's right. You can just call us, leave a voicemail. You can leave a vent, whatever you want.
What would it cost us to get a parody of that song? Do we have to pay royalties on that if we play it?
Not if it's a parody, right?
Yeah.
Come on. I never understand that law.
Shoot for next week. Come on.
All right. Landlord hotline bling.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we'll get a video of me and you just dancing awkwardly in front of a bunch of weird colored lights.
I'll cut a rug. Let's do it.
We're so topical. The way we're just hitting on these, hip hop culture references from 2 years ago.
I get it.
I'm
cool.
So, all right, let's take a listen here and see what kind of question we got here today.
When your tenant is being evicted and they ruin your rental, can you turn the cost into your insurance?
So I thought this was a pretty good question.
Pretty cut and dry there.
Yeah, and researched it. I have an answer up on the screen here. I'm just going to read this answer, and if we want to discuss, we can.
Well, it's just in case you couldn't pick it up on the live coverage. Tenant ruins your rental on an eviction. Can you place that claim with your insurance to get that damage covered?
All right.
All right.
Yes, that's a good point. People on the live broadcast aren't going to hear that. So The answer is that standard homeowners insurance policies will generally not cover any damages inflicted by tenants. Homeowners insurance policies only cover residences lived by the actual homeowner, or to put it simply, covers only the property in which a homeowner lives. Rental properties require a different policy under a rental homeowners policy known as a dwelling fire policy. Under the dwelling fire policy, normal wear and tear damage is not covered, but preempted vandalism is. However, in order to claim vandalism, homeowners must file a police report and press charges against the offender.
Yeah, I mean, certainly might be appropriate in cases where they do that amount of damage. You know? I mean, I know it's not, man, just going back and thinking about some of the collection accounts that I'm familiar with that our clients had over the years, and they had police reports. I remember one where they had a washer and dryer just flat out stolen. And the police went there, filled the report out, so there's not much we can do. Do you have pictures? Of course, do you have pictures of the washer and dryer being in place beforehand? And this and that. Gave him basically the old, it's a hard thing to prove. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if there's a chance you get some sort of coverage on your insurance, do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a good thing to know too, because it's like you don't want to skip steps, and maybe you just felt bad filing a police report, or you felt lazy, or whatever the situation was, and you don't do that, but you've got thousands and thousands of dollars of damages that now can't be reclaimed because you're not going to find that person.
Yeah.
And you didn't go through the proper steps of filing a police report. So
yeah. It's worth it. It's easy. I just had to do it. I don't know if it was 12 months ago or what, when we had our credit stolen. And some guy in Cleveland, shout out to Cleveland, Ohio, where somebody spent $2,200 at a lids store at the mall buying hats.
It's a lot of hats.
I don't know why the guy at the lids store didn't raise a flag. Like,
yeah.
Do normally people go in there and spend $2,200 worth of hats? I wonder if that's like a normal thing, or maybe it was the guy that worked there. I don't know. Either way, we had to file a police report. I don't know. It took me 20 minutes. I had to went down to, they made me go down to the station, fill it out real quick, but got our money back.
All right. Well, there you have it. Make sure you file a police report if your tenant vandalizes your rental property.
Right.
Or if you get
your credit card stolen
and somebody buys 1,000 hats.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That is episode number 203. Again, if you want to connect with us, you can always join the Rent Prep for Landlords Facebook group. We actually asked for a password when you try to join now, just as a heads up, just trying to limit the amount of riffraff coming in and out of the group. I've been getting picked on a lot lately, and it's hurting my feelings. So just trying to, shore that up, make sure that we got only landlords joining the group and making the conversation as good as we can for everybody. So, yeah, that's podcast 203.
Awesome.
All right. Until next week, everybody, take care, and we'll talk to you soon.